So it's been about 8 months since I made a video about the prison school anime, and I asked people, would you want me to make one about the manga? And I did have a few people say they wanted me to talk about the manga. So let's talk about the manga, because the prison school manga is something that I basically impulsively bought like back in like maybe 2020, 2019, somewhere around there. I bought like almost all the manga, but like the first 3 volumes off of Right Stuff, because I wanted to read everything that happened after the anime. And when it comes to the prison school manga, we'll say it has its highs and it has its lows. And anybody that's read the manga will tell you that the manga is good until something that happens, we'll say, by the end. So I'm gonna say this: if you've never read the prison school manga and you do not want to be spoiled, just know I'm gonna be getting into like all the spoilers, and we got to talk about a few things, because there's some things in here that are really hilarious, very out of pocket, and there's some things that will piss you off when it comes to this manga. But let's get without the way, let's get into it. So just know spoilers are coming, because we're gonna start with the problem when it comes to the manga first. That's the first thing I'm gonna talk about. So yeah, leave now and then come back later. So let's talk about it. So when it comes to prison school, the one thing majority of people that will tell you that have read the manga is that the ending is very disappointing. And if you want to know why the ending is very disappointing, because at the ending, so the last panel is basically Chio, and she's became the new Shadow Student Council president. And it's just like the way it ends, it just ends with a very open ending type of ending, and like it just feels like it's just an end of a chapter, not an end of a series. Yeah, we do get a few more panels that are just shown like in the manga of just like the guys finally going to, you know, the swimsuit contest or whatever. We see that, but I mean, it just shows them walking. They're still wearing their prison uniforms, but we don't get any conclusions that any of these characters. The only characters that really get conclusions is Chio, Mari, and then the chairman, because like only their family are the real one that kind of gets some type of conclusion in this series, kind of in a way. But everybody else really doesn't, because Kyoshi and Hana, they have been on one this whole series, and towards the end, when they finally tell Chio everything they've been doing, and Chio is willing to basically accept Kyoshi, but then when Kyoshi is still wearing Hana's, you know, underwear, that's when she loses her mind, and then it goes to that panel, and it just ends like that. It's just like a super abrupt ending. And I mean, there are a lot of things of like reasons why this ended that way. I've heard that basically the prison school's mangaka, he did not like that. He was basically known for just prison school, when he had something called like the Devil's Blues, which is like this one manga that looks really good, and it's about like a jazz musician, and it's about a black jazz musician that's around like in the Jim Crow era, and like he mixes his own type of like, I guess you'd say like, it's kind of like a, I guess you say it's like psychological-ish manga and other things too, but it's a really good series. But he really wanted that one to be recognized and not prison school, so that's one of the reasons why we heard that like he ended prison school the way is because of the Devil's Blues, because he wanted that one to be like more popular. When it's like, if he wanted that one to be more popular, he should have, like, in my opinion, marketed that more to Americans and not Japanese. Just saying, because black Americans would have ate that shit up, because one, it's literally showing us, it's a actual mangaka from Japan actually depicting black people really good, and the manga looks really good, and the story's actually really good. It would have marketed towards us better than them over there, whatever. But I digress. That's one of the reasons why we've heard it went that way. But it's really just like a very disappointing ending, especially for a series that had so many highs and so many funny, hilarious, out-of-pocket moments. But I will say there was one arc that was dragging, and that's basically the whole sports festival. But there's like an arc that's in the sports festival, which is like, it's the cavalry battle, I'm pretty sure. And that one, that's a long ass arc that's already inside the sports festival arc. But it's just the sports festival arc takes so damn long, and it takes majority of the manga. And that's literally like what we're really dealing with, because after the anime, so if you've seen like after the anime, there's the OVA, and after that OVA, that's when we get into basically the Shadow Student Council president being in prison, and we see all them through prison and other things that happens, because we get a lot of other things from backstories. The chairman even has a wild backstory, which honestly you could say some James Bond type of backstory. Like his whole thing is kind of nuts. And he has like this girl named Honey, and even like this one dude called like Mr. Important that's like his enemy or whatever. Yeah, he has kind of just like this whole James Bond type of backstory, and it's kind of funny. But we get backstories on a lot of different characters, like Mari when she's younger. We get her, and Meiko, who's the vice president, the Shadow Student Council vice president. We get their backstory with Kate's backstory, which is the actual student council president. We get her backstory along with her one friend Riza. We get her too. So we get a lot of backstories for a majority of the female characters. We get a lot of backstories and other things. But let's get into talking about some of the moments that are out of pocket, because the prison school manga is very, very, very out of pocket. Just know the anime did not touch any of the stuff, because everything that happens in the manga is times 100. If you thought the anime was out of pocket, the manga is it's crazy how much. Let's talk. I'll give you, for instance, I'll give you 2 examples. First example is when Kyoshi and Mari, the Shadow Student Council president, are in prison. just know there's gonna be one moment when they're cleaning the bathroom and cleaning the baths and all that, and snakes get put in there, and a snake bites both of their asses. So you know, if they come up with a good idea to do is they have to suck out the poison, and we'll just say they might be in a 6, and we'll say maybe a 9 type of we'll just say position. We'll say they might be in that type of position, and yeah, and they're trying to suck the poison out, and it's wild. And then another one is, it kind of deals with those same exact numbers, is when Hana and Kyoshi during the sports festival, they go back to his room and they get under the covers naked. That way that Hana can finally, you know, see him pee and all the stuff like that, because, you know, she's been like obsessed with that and she needs to get him back for payback. And just know they're facing that direction and they see everything. And I mean, they see everything. And what makes that movie even wilder is Chiyo comes into the room, sees their shoes on the ground, and she's wondering like, whoa, where are these guys at? So then she sees this big pile of covers and she starts whipping out the covers, and it's nuts. And like the panel, the way it's drawn in the panel is so crazy and like beautiful. It's just showing her just grabbing these off. It's just like, whew. And it looks so cool, just the way she's like grabbing the covers off, and it's hilarious. But yeah, just know she's gonna eventually get to like the last blanket like covering them, and then that's when they throw this rocket in there and Gadget comes and they grab the rocket little cup thing. And just know that's when Hana explodes and she gets her payback on Kyoshi because she couldn't hold it in no more. And just know it's one of the wildest scenes ever, because this man, it goes through like this whole scene, like this man is, his whole life is flashing before his eyes, and it's hilarious. And it sees him like he's sitting on a beach and all that, because trust me, there's a lot. She unloaded a lot down there. I'll say there was a lot of stuff all over the ground, the whole floors, whatever. I digress. But yeah, it was nuts. And this man is sitting on the bed and he's like, dog, how can I even have a family now? And that's when Hana goes up and kisses him. And yeah, just know Kyoshi and Hana, their sexual tension is nuts in this manga, and it makes no sense why they're not together. Like, it's so dumb. Like, the whole Kyoshi being still liking Chiyo is very dumb, when it's like, at this point, you and Hana have been through so goddamn much that it makes no sense how y'all are not dating. That was the one thing that just never made sense and I always hated in the manga, is because, like, it should have been Hana, and also it could have been the Shadow Student Council President Mari, because, like, her and Kyoshi both had, like, a thing going on when they're in prison. But when it comes to Hana, him and Hana really had that connection. It's like, when it comes to Chiyo, he really did not have no connection at all with Chiyo besides. But yeah, that was just the first girl that he met at the school that he quote-unquote fell in love with. But it's like, they really don't have no connection besides little other moments that are in there. But it's not, in my opinion, him and Hana have way more of a connection. And Hana even admits by the end that she's in love with him and all these other things. And Kyoshi's just not trying to, he's over here being stuck up trying to holler at Chiyo and all that. Let's talk about everything that led up to basically, you know, the ending that we got, because we have a lot of interesting things that happens, because a lot of people get a lot of interesting things and we get introduced to certain characters. Like, the people that stand out the most that we get introduced that are new characters are literally the real student council, because like we finally meet them, because in that OVA they show them, and that's Kate, Riza, and then like the one girl that like has a thing with Gadget. So I mean, we have those, and those three are like the three that really shine here because we get to know more about them. Just know Kate and Mari have this type of rivalry, but it's mainly one-sided on Kate's side, because Mari's never really seen it like that. But just know there's gonna be a point wanted to say Mari might change Kate's life. I will say that she might change her life, and it's kind of nuts. But yeah, just know they're eventually, we're gonna see them all in prison. Eventually they're gonna get like Hana on their side, and then even Meiko, the Shadow Student Council vice president, she's gonna basically revert all the way back to her childhood when she used to get bullied and all that, and that happens, and she's like that forever. And just know Andre is losing his mind because he wants to get hit by the Shadow Student Council president again. He wants to get hit by her, but then eventually like Riza starts hitting him, and then him and Riza end up having this connection towards the end. And it's kind of funny because like they have that thing. But yeah, we have that, and then like the main arc is just like them in prison, and then Kyoshi gets in prison with Mari, and then like they try and break out and they almost escape, and it's like, it's kind of just as elaborate as like the first escape for the boys, and like it almost happens but ends up failing. But then after that, that's when we have this long ass sports festival arc that goes forever. And then we even do get like a little like brief backstory in between that shows like the chairman's backstory, and he has that James Bond type of thing. But I mean, overall, the Prison School manga isn't that bad. It's just the ending sucks. The rest of the manga is decent. It just has a really bad ending because it's a very open ending type of ending, and like we don't really get a lot of answers or a lot of closure to all these characters that we honestly should have got closure to, but we didn't get it, sadly. But I mean, I still enjoy it. I mean, I own everything. The only volumes I don't have is like 2, 3, and 4, but I'll get those sometime in the future. I have every other volume, and the one thing I will say is the art's always going to look really good because Prison School has amazing art, but it's just very disappointing the way the ending is, and most people, they get upset about the ending and like they hate the manga because of the ending, even though I will say that Devil's Blues is actually really good. If you haven't read that, please read it. It's a really good series. Just because he made this one and like y'all are upset about Prison School, don't like be mad about that other series. That other series is actually really good, and I wish he would go back to the other series because it's so goddamn good. And I wish we would get English physical editions of those, because we did get like Volume 1, I think, back in the day, and I wish we would get like re-releases of those because it looks so goddamn good. But yeah, if you've read the Prison School manga, let me know how you feel about it. If you've never read it, please check it out. It's a very wild ride, and so many wild things happen with all these characters. Trust me, I can't talk about everything because this video would get demonetized so fast, because this manga is filled with so much out-of-pocket stuff. But I will just say, everything with Hana and Kyoshi is wild. It just know, and also we all know the manga has that P. I will say that he most definitely does, because even in the manga it continues just like the anime. Because the anime had that, just know the manga still has it, especially because Hana's whole character is that at this point, because she does get her payback on Kyoshi, and that man sees his life flash before his eyes, and he's like, it basically sends him on vacation. It's wild though. But yeah, you enjoyed the video, why not like? If you didn't, you could dislike, subscribe if you really enjoyed. But yeah, Prison School manga isn't that bad. I enjoy it, but I will say it does have flaws when it comes to basically the ending. It's like, in my opinion, the way you would explain basically Prison School is that it was Icarus, that it was flying so high and it was so popular and it was doing so well, but then as soon as it got too close to the sun, just like Icarus, the little wax wings ended up melting, then it fell flat on the earth and, you know, died. That's basically what this happened. It's basically like Icarus. That's what's kind of happened with this, because it was just so far above, but then it just crash landed because it, you know, it shit itself. It hit the fan, and like the manga did not want to work on this no more. He was tired of working on it, and just it went too high, and then just gave up, and that's why we got the ending we got. It's a very disappointing ending. Yes, I guess you could say we quote unquote we got a conclusion to the boys because they went to the wet t-shirt contest, but at the same time we really didn't. And like majority of the manga was spent on this sports festival when we probably could have got so many other things. Like we could have saw them go to like the next year or something like that. We could have got so many different things than what we actually got, sadly though. But yeah, Prison School, it's a good manga, but very disappointing ending. Like everything leading up to it will be fine, but you have that long sports festival arc that just continues all the way to the end, and then it just becomes very disappointing when it comes to the final panel that we got, because it does not feel like a real ending. It does not feel like a real conclusion to everything we've been through with these characters though. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you next video. Bye. Hey, and when I say the manga is very wild, just know that final arc has a moment when Kyoshi and Hana switch underwear, and this man is wearing her underwear, and we're just say something gets, you know, going up like that, and it's very pointed up in a different type of thing. We'll say something from down below that he has, you know, it's turned on, we'll say, and he's during that battle, and that's how he ends up scaring some of the girls, and it's nuts, very wild. Everything about this manga just gets wild and wild, and that final arc has so many wild moments, but it's just hilarious when you think about all the wild stuff that happens in this. Like, it's nuts how much is in here. Like, if that's kind of why this could never get a season 2, because this goes from 0 to 100. Everything that happened in the anime does not touch anything that happens with this, because this has way too much wild out-of-pocket stuff. And I say that's the thing that's good about it, is all the wild out-of-pocket stuff, and when it comes to the breakout. But then when we get to that, you know, that long-ass sports festival, that's when it kind of goes like, come on, can you hurry up and finish this? But we do get a lot of good moments with Kyoshi and Hana in that sports festival though. But yeah, Prison School's manga is very, very out of pocket and wild. There's a reason why it has that parent warning right there, because it actually needs it though. Oh yeah, and also real quick, there's a character they called Bitch, and it's kind of funny because like it's a character they bring up in the sports festival arc, and it's like her name is just straight up Bitch. That's her name. Like she does not have any other name. It's just straight up that, and it's kind of wild. And I'm pretty sure she gets a thing for like gacha or whatever, and it's kind of funny. Yeah, there's so many wild moments in it.